Oh wow, Anna Wintour has just banned Meghan Markle and Prince Harry from the Met Gala, and one positive change they made is they're not inviting Harry and Meghan. So Harry and Meghan, they'll be licking their wounds. I still wouldn't be shocked if they crash the red carpet. So let's be honest. If you're in the room, if you know the players and you're still not invited, it's not about access, it's about approval. And right now, in this moment, she doesn't have it. This week, two separate stories surfaced, and when you connect them, the situation suddenly looks far more strategic than many expected. On one side, quiet discussions about a possible meeting between Prince Harry and King Charles Roman III in New York have reportedly been taking place. Nothing officially confirmed, nothing publicly scheduled, just careful conversations about timing, location, and whether such a meeting could realistically happen. Looks like Harry is really depressed. There's a lot going on for him, and also with Meghan Markle and her whole non-invite to the Met Gala. And what it all means, I think essentially it is showing us a pattern of things that are happening for Harry and Meg. On the other side, Meghan Markle was once again absent from the Met Gala, one of the most exclusive nights in the global fashion calendar. Separately, neither development seems shocking, but when you look at them together, the timing begins to feel very deliberate. Let's start with the potential meeting because this is where things start to get complicated quickly. He does come, it is going to be off the official schedule. It's not going to be something that we're going to know officially. Now, the report says that logistics are being discussed and that Harry hopes to bring Archie and Princess Lilibet, no Meghan Markle. Reports suggest real logistical conversations are happening, not just speculation but discussions about how a private interaction could be structured. New York has been floated as neutral territory, far removed from formal royal settings and away from intense institutional pressure. A private setting creates space for controlled communication, limiting the chance of public misunderstandings. Believe is the right thing to do. I know some of you don't want that, but that's what Harry wants. But one detail continues to stand out more than anything else. The conversation appears focused on Harry alone without Meghan included. Observers do not see that as coincidence. Some analysts believe that previous attempts to arrange broader family discussions did not progress smoothly, which may have influenced how current talks are being shaped. When the structure of a meeting changes this noticeably, commentators naturally begin analyzing what that shift might signal, as a firm rejection when Meghan was a part of this request to come as well with Harry and the children, but rather this is something that is now open to negotiations at this state. Official wording often includes terms like timing, trust, and logistical considerations, but experienced royal watchers tend to read deeper into the phrasing. Over recent years, private conversations have sometimes become highly public topics, turning personal discussions into global headlines. From an institutional perspective, maintaining confidentiality now appears to be a top priority. There have even been reports suggesting additional precautions during phone conversations, reflecting how carefully communication channels are currently being handled. Neutral ground is where they'll probably end up meeting rather than in Washington, D.C. The report also said that the family relationships we know have been strained in framing any meeting as private and focused on reconnecting. So that is what is being said. So extending that level of caution into an in-person discussion explains why every detail is being evaluated so precisely. In that context, limiting the number of participants may be viewed as a practical step toward rebuilding dialogue. Even the choice of city plays a role. Washington would likely frame the meeting as a political event tied to official schedules. New York, however, allows the interaction to remain more personal and less ceremonial, giving both sides greater flexibility regarding how much becomes public. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are allegedly upset that they have not been invited to the Met Gala. Now, this is Anna Wintour's big event. It's always the first Monday in May. Welcome to the club, okay? 99% of us will never go to the Met Gala. At the heart of these discussions lies something more human than headlines. Public figures still have private relationships, and distance over time naturally creates emotional gaps. Strip away strategy, messaging, speculation, and what remains is a family connection that has not had much opportunity to reconnect in recent years. If Harry were to appear with family members and she has never warmed to Meghan, now that's even though they had that awkward hug, do you remember, at the Balenciaga fashion show in Paris last year? However, sources tell Paula of News Nation that her patience has now run out entirely, but without Meghan, the atmosphere would immediately shift. The focus would move away from media strategy and land on something more personal, more emotional, more authentic. That kind of moment changes public perception instantly, but at the same time it highlights a bigger contrast. While Prince Harry may be slowly reconnecting with relatives, Meghan Markle appears to be navigating a very different direction entirely. Paris Fashion Week, in the same orbit, in the same rooms, even crossing paths with the woman who decides who matters in fashion, and we know that to be Anna Wintour. And yet no Met Gala invite, no seat at the table, no official entry into the and that takes us straight to the second major story, the Met Gala. This is not just another red carpet appearance, it is widely considered one of the most tightly curated events in fashion, with invitations personally overseen by Anna Wintour. Attendance is not simply about recognition or visibility, it reflects industry approval at the highest level. This year, Meghan was once again not on the guest list. What makes that detail especially interesting is her proximity to influential circles that regularly attend the event. She has appeared at high-profile gatherings alongside figures such as Serena Williams and Beyoncé, both frequent participants at the Met Gala. You can't PR your way into respect, and you definitely can't recreate what Diana had because Diana didn't ask to be invited. She was expected. That suggests awareness and access are not the limiting factors. When an individual with global visibility, major partnerships, and established connections is repeatedly absent from an event known for selective inclusion, observers often interpret the situation as more than coincidence. In industries like fashion and entertainment, signals are often subtle but highly intentional. So if you're Meghan Markle, what do you do at that moment? First, you set up some paparazzi pictures in Montecito. We're not even going to go there, folks. Then you post a video on Instagram specifically responding to the fact that we all know Meghan cares more and promotes more her daughter rather than her son, how the sharing of a very private holiday that no one knew about and no one gave a damn about on a social media platform that Prince Harry is currently in a campaign to destroy doesn't really work out. The Met Gala rarely comments on guest decisions publicly. There are no announcements explaining why certain names appear or do not appear. Yet within elite social environments, absence can communicate just as strongly as presence. Silence in these contexts can carry meaning. What makes the contrast even sharper is the difference between being near influential circles and being fully embraced within them. Meghan continues to maintain public visibility, appearing at various events and maintaining professional activity. However, certain spaces remain tightly controlled, and entry often reflects shifting perceptions within those networks. You are either inside that room or you are not, and this year her absence once again became part of the broader conversation. Now compare that with developments on Harry's side. If discussions about reconnecting with family are progressing, the structure appears increasingly specific. She was relevant, Princess Diana. Princess Diana, she walked into rooms like the Met Gala and the world completely stopped for her. Photographers chased her and the most clears throat. Elite circles in fashion wanted to dress her. Reports suggest potential pathways forward may involve carefully managed settings, gradual steps, and limited variables. Observers often note a recurring theme. Harry individually appears more feasible, while broader involvement introduces additional complexity. When patterns appear repeatedly, analysts begin interpreting them as strategic positioning rather than random outcomes. Meanwhile, Meghan's broader public positioning continues evolving across media, entertainment, and cultural platforms, building influence across multiple industries. Long-term process, so get off your computer, get off your high horse and understand that how Diana got it is because she was effortless, she was magnetic, she was undeniable. However, public reception does not always develop at the same pace as strategic ambition. The doors people expected to open aren't opening the same way anymore. Industry whispers suggest that Hollywood isn't as welcoming as it once seemed, and now the fashion world is quietly making its own statement. Not through flashy headlines, but through absence, because the Met Gala doesn't reject people publicly, it simply doesn't extend an invitation. And that silence right now, it's louder than any press release or red carpet moment. This isn't about fame. Plenty of globally recognized names don't get invited each year. What this is about is something much subtler: belonging, and true belonging at that level can't be forced. So many more questions than answers. Right, when was that? Have they rented out the entire slope? Was AI used in the production of that video? And is it all just a PR stunt to stop us talking about the Paula Frolic exclusive which just dropped on News Nation and the Scoop Substack? It isn't built overnight, and it certainly isn't something you achieve just by being visible. Ironically, the more it looks like someone is pushing to be included, the harder it can become to truly belong. Here's the part most people don't say out loud. At the highest tiers of fashion and celebrity, those who genuinely belong don't seem to be trying at all. They simply exist in the space naturally, seamlessly, without effort. Now bring Anna Wintour into the picture. She's the ultimate gatekeeper, deciding who gets invited, who's noticed, and who occupies the center of that world. And here's where it gets fascinating. She has been outwardly polite to Meghan. Public encounters show smiles, brief chats, and friendly gestures, but politeness does not equal approval. In these elite circles, you can be treated with warmth and still not be fully included. When you watch figures like Beyoncé and Serena Williams walk the Met Gala steps while Meghan is absent, the contrast becomes striking. These are people she knows personally, yet she remains outside the inner circle, and that's why this starts feeling less like coincidence and more like a subtle signal, a quiet, unmistakable message that she's not fully welcomed into that space right now. And then with Anna Wintour, she was polite with Meghan when she saw her at the Balenciaga, but it was clearly obvious what Meghan was up to. She was walking through the crowd to find someone to attach herself to. And who better than try and walk into a room with all of the cameras than Anna Wintour herself, who obviously was very polite to her, double kiss, and yes, you look fabulous, darling, and that was pretty much it, but Meghan did go to that very late. She did walk in when everybody was at there. Seats with that ridiculous entourage. She was in white, angelic white, and all of the men around her were dressed in black. Now the bigger picture begins to emerge. On one side, Prince Harry may be heading to New York, moving back toward family, tradition, and established connections. On the other, Meghan Markle continues pushing forward into spaces that aren't fully opening up to her. And the gap between those paths, it's widening. These aren't just different directions, they are completely separate worlds. One is pulling back toward family and connection, while the other is pushing toward status, recognition, and cultural influence. The divergence has never been more visible. Right now, only one of these directions seems to be moving forward. The very fact that a New York meeting is even being discussed tells you a lot. The door isn't fully closed for Prince Harry. Sure, it may be narrow with conditions attached, but it's still open. That's important, and it signals there's still a path toward connection and reconciliation. Does she think we're stupid with the timing of this video drop? Harry and Archie, long forgotten Archie on the slopes. What did you think this was all about? Well, I think a lot of it is she's trying to take attention away from old Sharty G-string. Meanwhile, in the fashion world, that door didn't just stay closed, it looks firmly shut. The Met Gala isn't just a party, it's signal, and this year's signal was crystal clear. Still outside, still not fully accepted, still missing the mark in a space that matters to perception. When situations like this happen repeatedly, it stops being about timing or coincidence. It becomes about positioning, about who is being validated and who isn't. The original plan was bold: build influence across Hollywood, fashion, media, and philanthropy all at once. But visibility alone doesn't create doors. Access only opens when validation happens, and right now that validation isn't fully there. The Met Gala invites have gone out, none sent to Meghan and Prince Harry. Now she was banking now Paula. Look, she does say there's always the chance of a last-minute invite, that type of thing, but it's not looking good, and it is surprising given you've got the Bezos, the Beyoncé, the Williams, but it does feel like Anna Wintour has put her foot down. Plus I guess a bit of Lauren Sanchez mixed in. I would highly. Oh yeah, one thing about Anna Wintour, she knows how to run a business and generate attention. Being known to the world is not the same as being accepted inside the inner circles. You can have global recognition and high-profile connections and still not get a seat at the table, and the Met Gala is the perfect illustration of that difference. Now layer in the timing, a possible meeting for Harry without Meghan, a high-profile absence from the Met Gala, and subtle pushback from Hollywood insiders. The pattern starts to point in one direction. It's not officially stated, it's not loudly announced, but it's visible to anyone paying attention. A shift is happening. Harry still maintains a connection to established spaces, environments that can open doors under specific conditions. Meghan is building something new, but the response from those spaces isn't matching the effort she's putting. In streaming deals, you can even have PR, but if the top does not embrace you, you're not in. You hear me? You are not in. You are adjacent to the people who are on the inside. Meghan is adjacent, and when effort meets resistance like that, friction builds, and that's exactly what's becoming noticeable. You can only stay almost inside for so long before it's clear you're actually outside. Right now, that's exactly how it appears. Not officially banned, but definitely not welcomed. Not publicly rejected, but not embraced privately either. In elite circles like these, that's the loudest message of all. They don't announce it, they show it through who is allowed in and who isn't. And looking at this pattern across multiple spaces, the direction is becoming unmistakably clear. When you look at Meghan Markle and her current position in the fashion world, the keyword isn't just absent. Didn't send the invite, that's not an oversight, that is a decision. Absolutely, and Anna Wintour's for that matter. She is someone who will see you like she saw Meghan at Paris Fashion Week. She'll be nice, she'll be cordial, she'll smile. It's excluded energy, not in a dramatic headline-grabbing way, but in that quiet, controlled style elite circles use when someone isn't fully accepted. That silence speaks louder than any public rejection. Here's the reality most people don't say outright. The Met Gala isn't just about outfits, style, or celebrity appearances. It's about influence, power, and who is considered culturally relevant at the very top of the industry, and that control lies almost entirely in the hands of one person, Anna Wintour, someone who has spent decades deciding who belongs at the center of that world. So when someone like Meghan, with global recognition, major connections, media presence, and years of strategic positioning, still doesn't receive an invitation, it's not random. It's not about timing, it's not maybe next year energy, because Serena Williams is going to be there, other people bay and say, these are people that are going to be there that Meghan knows, and I can only imagine when they ask Meghan, did you get your invite, girl, to Met Gala, that absence is a signal, and while subtle the pattern is consistent, she's visible everywhere but not validated in the spaces that matter most. The contrast between visibility and acceptance is striking. Meghan's name is known globally, her projects, media appearances, headlines and deals have kept her constantly in the public eye, but in elite cultural environments being seen isn't enough. In fact, overexposure, especially when tied to controversy, can work against someone's acceptance in these circles. These spaces reward effortless belonging, and that can't be manufactured, forced, or built through strategy alone. Meghan's uninvited appearance at Balenciaga's fashion show last August did her no favors either, with insiders describing her late arrival and red carpet posturing as tone-deaf. That's where comparisons to Princess Diana come up, not because the situations are identical but because Diana's presence created instant acceptance. She didn't have to position herself or craft a brand to enter rooms. Energy shifted naturally when she arrived, and the elites responded immediately. Presence like that can't be created with PR, it either exists or it doesn't, and that's where tension around Meghan's image becomes visible. For years, she has invested in building influence, aligning with the right people, showing up at high-profile events and crafting her brand, but in spaces like the Met Gala, effort can actually backfire. The more it looks like someone is trying to belong, the more it calls into question whether they naturally do. At this level, subtlety rules, and Meghan's absence is speaking volumes, louder than any headline ever could. Now let's connect this with everything happening on the other side with Prince Harry. While Meghan Markle is pushing forward into cultural spaces that aren't fully opening up, Harry is quietly being pulled towards something very different: family, history, and personal connection. That contrast couldn't be sharper. She's a global icon. She's you. No, she's infamous, I would say. She has this cultural recognition and powerhouse, somewhat Hollywood player, no, but moments like this expose something that is very the potential meeting in New York with King Charles III is a perfect example. Even though it's not officially confirmed, the fact that it's even on the table tells you something important. There's still a door open for Harry. Sure, it may be narrow and conditional, but it exists. And here's the kicker: isn't part of that scenario. That detail keeps repeating, and it's far from random. That's when the divide becomes obvious. It's less about coincidence and more about structural separation. Harry's path appears focused on rebuilding trust, stepping into a controlled private space, and showing discretion in every interaction. Meanwhile, Meghan's path revolves around visibility, staying in public view, and trying to cement her place in spaces that aren't fully responding. Those approaches don't mix easily. One requires subtlety, less exposure and restraint. The other demands relevance, public presence, and continuous attention. That mismatch naturally creates tension, not just externally but in how their overall strategy functions as a duo. Originally, the plan seemed ambitious: step away from the royal system and build something equally influential in the commercial and cultural world, independent, modern, global, but the reality hasn't fully matched those expectations. Commercial ventures have faced hurdles and cultural validation hasn't fully landed. Absences like the Met Gala make that gap glaringly obvious. The Met Gala doesn't issue statements about who is left out, it just shows the room. And when someone of Meghan's visibility is repeatedly absent, the message is loud and clear. It sparks quiet questions in elite circles, not shouted, not public, but whispered. Why isn't she there? What's missing? What isn't clicking? That subtle scrutiny is exactly how these spaces operate. They don't reject openly, they let absence and omission speak volumes. And right now, that silent message is resonating across cultural and social networks in a powerful way. At the same time, the contrast with Prince Harry becomes even more striking. While Meghan Markle is being kept at the edges of cultural validation, Harry is being quietly offered a chance to reconnect with something much more grounded: family, history, and personal bonds. That difference isn't just headlines, it's real human emotion: a father, a son, a grandfather who hasn't seen his grandchildren in years. That's not strategy, that's reality that everyone feels. If the New York meeting happens, especially without Meghan, it could be symbolic of something far bigger than a simple private visit. It would represent a shift, a moment where personal connection begins to outweigh public narrative, where family ties take priority over optics and media strategy. Put that next to the Met Gala situation and the contrast is undeniable. One door is slightly opening, offering reconnection and grounded interaction. Another remains firmly closed, keeping someone at the edge of elite cultural spaces. One path is offering a way back while the other still faces resistance and delayed acceptance. That's where the story becomes really compelling. It's no longer just about past events, it's about what comes next. Will Meghan continue pushing forward with the same strategy hopping validation eventually follows, or will she reconsider how she approaches these spaces, balancing visibility with influence? Meanwhile, will Harry take that narrow path back toward family even if it comes with difficult choices? Or will the status quo hold, keeping these two moving in separate directions? Right now, we don't have the answers, but the signals are growing stronger every week. The Met Gala absence, the New York meeting talks, the differences in reception, all of it points in one direction: Harry and Meghan. If you've got thoughts on this, drop them in the comments. Let's hear what you think. If this breakdown opened your eyes, hit subscribe and stay tuned for more deep dives like this. Don't forget to smash that like button and share it with someone who needs to see it.